We are in Midrash Rabbah Parshat Noach, and this is entitled The Great Flood and Alexander the Not So Great. And basically this Midrash is a fascinating story that the Midrash brings about Alexander the Great. But it doesn't call him Alexander the Great, it calls him Alexander of Macedonia. And as you know, the historians call him Alexander the Great because he took over from his father at age 20 as king of Macedonia, and then within 10 years he had already expanded and taken over most of the world. And that's why he was considered great. But was he really great? So let's find out. So the story we have is that Alexander comes to a very distant land, which is described in the Midrash as beyond the dark mountains, somewhere at the edge of the world. And the king is startled to see Alexander, and Alexander says, "Don't worry, I'm just here to see how you adjudicate cases. How do you mete out justice?" And the king says, "Well, I happen to have a case right in front of me." So these two people come. The first one gets up and says, "I sold this land, which was really no good. It was a dunghill, to this man over here, and it was later discovered that there was great riches under the land." Aha, what do you think is going to happen now? Well, this person is getting up and arguing that the other party should keep the riches. He says, but after all, that's just the way it goes. When you buy the land, you get what's in it and under it, and that's just the way it is. That's fair. And the other party was arguing, no, we bought this land not knowing there's any riches. If we knew there was riches, I'm sure that the price would have been higher. They would never have sold it to us for this price. It's not fair. We're certainly willing to keep the land, but we want to give the riches back. Of course, Alexander the Great is flabbergasted by these two arguments, and the king goes on and says, "Fine, let me adjudicate the case. I hereby declare do you have a king? Do you have a son?" And they say, "Yes." "And you, the other party, do you have a daughter?" "Yes." "I think you should marry your son and your daughter, and therefore the riches will stay in the family." And since Alexander the Great looks so flabbergasted, the king asks him, "Perhaps you're not happy the way I adjudicated the case?" And Alexander says, "Well, I'll tell you the truth. If it was up to me, I would have just killed both of the litigants and taken the gold." And the king is taken aback, and he says, "Tell me, in the country that you come from, do you have rain?" In other words, the king is thinking, how could such an evil person deserve rain in their kingdom? And Alexander says, "Yes, of course, the empire I come from, we have plenty of rain." And the king says, "You have rain. I figured it out. I think I know why you have rain. It's not because you deserve any rain. Surely you don't. God would never bestow that kind of blessing on you, but perhaps you have farm animals, and they need to have the sustenance of the rain. Do you have farm animals?" And Alexander says, "Yes, we have farm animals." So that's the story, and the question is, what is the story all about? Why is it that Alexander is so upset? Does he really, that he would actually kill people to get the gold? Is it the gold that he wants? He just conquered the world. So perhaps what's going on here is Alexander is feeling uncomfortable with the kind of moral character displayed here. It seems outside the pale for him. He doesn't see why people like this should exist. Someone who is so concerned about justice and honesty and not trying to connive the other person to keep something, even if it was ill-gotten, doesn't understand it. I think that the Midrash is really saying that when people are reduced to animals, especially people that everyone hold in high esteem, like Alexander the Great, when you see their real, true colors and their morality coming through, so when they start to act like animals, then you have to understand why God had to set a reset button and start again. And of course, he needs to fill that. In order to recreate the world, he has to put all the animals in But animals themselves don't deserve to be destroyed. They didn't do anything wrong. They may also be part of a dog-eat-dog world, but that's their instincts. That's what rules in the animal kingdom, but you can't hold that against them. But when humankind reduced to acting like animals, then it all makes sense. And that's why we have this picture before us, which looks very unusual, of decimating mankind except for a few individuals, but saving all of the animals. Have a great Shabbat.